Welcome to Vegas Live with Ninon. As you know who I am, I'm your host, Ninon de Vere de Rosa, and we have a reoccurring guest, Michael Presley. The reason we're having a reoccurring guest is because he's really quite famous out there. I want to thank the Peppermill for letting us film in here, but there's also another reason we're filming in here. The actual booth that we are sitting in, Elvis Presley sat here. He would come in the back door of the Peppermill and he would come in here, and this was his booth. I don't even think Michael knows that. Hey, Michael, how are you?
Doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing
Welcome
fantastic.
Back.
Yes.
Welcome back to the Peppermill. This is actually where your father sat.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dad would come from the
back door.
International Hotel across the way.
At that time.
At that time.
It's now called the Westgate.
Now it's called the Westgate.
Yeah.
And he'd come in the back door and sneak on back here, and they'd
then
see
he'd have
him
his
and
entourage and all the
and
whatever
relax.
and relax and because you know, after you do a show, you know, you're very hypo and very up there, so you can't just immediately go home and go to bed. It's not the type of thing. Although it's late, you can't do that because you know your energy is way up there and everything.
That's correct.
So I haven't seen you for a few months, and last interview we did, we had an incredible response.
Fabulous response.
We
I
did.
mean,
We had an incredible response of the ups and downs, and everybody has their opinion, and they're all very different, great, all in difference, but they're all great because they're all paying attention.
And I want to thank you so very much for having us on your program, because we literally went from hundreds of thousands of people on Bandstand Radio, where I have a show on Wednesday night.
Isn't that your show?
Yes, my show on Wednesday night, Audible show. And it went literally from hundreds of thousands of people to over 14 million people around the world listening.
Isn't that great to do something good for someone?
It is.
You know what I love? I love about, you know, talk shows and everything, and I'm not the only talk shows, thousands of us out there, but we get the word out there in one way or the other of what's going on. And you have actually reluctantly over your life, and this is why people are surprised, you know, you've suddenly come out and all of a sudden you've let go of those anxiety responses, I guess they could be, and decided to let everybody know who you are. So on that, you've come out. How's it been? Is it a lot of sort of criticism and a lot of,
you know,
aren't you?
You're always going to have people out there that want to criticize.
I have them.
I mean, this is America, and you're entitled to your criticism. You're entitled to your opinions.
Yes.
That's right. I served in the military to protect those rights, so that we all can have an opinion.
That's wonderful.
You see,
yeah.
And so I don't mind contrary opinions, but my word is, come and see me, meet with me, sit down, talk with me.
That's what we're doing right now.
And that's what we're doing right now.
We're finding out the information about you. Now, one thing that I'd like to bring up at the beginning, so you know people can understand, you have a birth certificate.
I do.
And you have it signed by your father.
That's correct.
Presley.
His name is on the birth certificate.
Can I see it?
You can. In fact, this was one of the questions whether what people would do it. Now, the state has asked me not to show, of course, their name. They do not want to be infiltrated.
That's right. Yeah.
They do not want to be infiltrated by 50 million people requesting, a copy.
So it doesn't have to be. So this is it, and he has allowed me to put this up because I had a lot of people trying to find out.
My birth date is March 27. Okay. So 1956 was when I was born.
1950.
And the issue date on the birth certificate is April 6th.
Okay. See? When I look at it, you can all...
And as you can see there too, my mother's name there is Mary Ann Hackett, and of course my father's name. And, you know, I don't see how it can be that unusual. When you really think about my father in that time and all of his life, being the greatest gift to women that there ever was.
I mean, he was slender, he was good looking, and then he sang.
Sexy and beautiful.
Moved his body around.
And from the 1950s into the 1960s, he just got better.
I know.
And so if you realize that and you think about it and go, could it possibly be that he only had one child, knowing full well that literally millions of women were rushing his stages, dropping their panties as they went along? I mean, it's not possible.
Even Frank Sinatra, I'm telling you, that between the two of them, they conquered all the women. It was absolutely amazing. But I'm more interested in you growing up. You grew up all through this, and you knew who you were. You were very reluctant to put it out there as to who you are.
It wasn't so much that I was reluctant. My mother was very protective.
Okay.
She had been a big band singer with some of the biggest bands back in the 1950s. And she already realized the kind of life that this draws and the attention that it draws in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that that would gravely affect my father's growing career. Because when they met, my father was just about ready to explode because they met in 1955.
Yeah.
So as a result, she said, "No, I don't want that for you." She got out of the entertainment industry and then proceeded to raise me. My father chased her and wanted to go ahead and still have a relationship with me, and my mother just kind of kept him at arm's distance.
So I'm more interested in you and probably the last 10 years of deciding that you really wanted to be out there, because it's very recent that you wanted to be out there. And you've had lots of different repercussions on people, what they think, and we're all entitled to an opinion. And how have you perceived all this? And how do you, I mean, you're very secure at the moment now, because you've already had so much, these other, whatever, right?
Right.
So how are you feeling now? You wake up in the morning and, you face another day and you've got people, bum, 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 you aren't, because there's a lot of that.
Well,
How do you handle that?
You wake up in the morning and you greet each day. I love the fact that I wake up in the morning and can see green and I'm not looking at brown from the inside of a box, so I know that it's going to be already a blessed good day.
There you go.
And so therefore you tackle the day and you go about it. You'd be surprised though how many real people out there.
Oh, yes.
Now, you have to understand that there are so many people out there that hide behind these monikers. I am R13658, and I'm going to put my opinion down there. And they put their opinion down there, and that's fine if they want to obscure their names.
Yeah.
Exactly. But in my book, I haven't obscured any names. I name everybody's name. I name my name. And I tell the whole story. So if you're going to leave a comment, please leave a name so that we can go ahead and know who to contact, because I really want to meet people.
Of course you do.
And the funny part about it is I'm finding far more positive answers and positive comments.
Well, I notice it's switching that way.
I notice
it's kind of switching in a different direction. I've noticed that with all of you out there, that you're now thinking, oh, hang on a second, maybe, I'm wrong. And now he looks like his father in ways. I think if people sort of hung around you and see how you are, they would understand that a little bit more. Now, in your book, I haven't seen your book yet. In your book, do you have any photographs of you and your dad?
We have my mother and my father together. We have photographs in there. We have so much in there. It is over 5,000 pages long. When they told me to sit down, I had a real hard time starting to write the book. And I mean, people have asked me.
When did you start writing the book?
This has been about an 8-year project.
8 years. And I know books take a long time.
They do take a long time. And I went on the internet to find out, well, what other writers are doing this? And then I find out that, Steven Spielberg's taken 5 years, 8 years, 3 years.
So it's not so bad.
No, I didn't feel so bad, because I thought to myself, okay, then I'm not an illiterate boob, okay? and I pecked it all out with 2 fingers because I never learned to type. So I'm sitting here at the house and I'm pecking out each letter.
Like
Okay. And I've gotten to be really fast. So now I tell everybody I'm the fastest 2-pecker in the industry. Yeah. So we did that, and I had a hard time developing. They said, well, you've got to start off by doing some kind of a diagram. So I did that. And then I looked at it. No, I can't figure it out. Then another guy come along, and each person is giving me information, real writers.
Different ways to do it.
That I reached out to. Finally, one guy came up to me and he said, listen, just write what's on your heart. Just write.
That's the best way.
Exactly. He says, start from the beginning, because that's where it started, and just follow it chronologically. Yeah. It'll be easier to remember, be easier for the reader to be able to follow.
Yeah.
And just lay it all out. Well, when I started doing that, it just flowed. And there were, I don't want to start crying here, but there were moments there that were really very painful. Okay, and I brought all that out into the book.
What moments were that painful?
Well, you have to understand that on my mother's side, we had, the entire family was religious ministers.
Right.
We have been a strong Church of Christ, not Church of Christ of Latter-day Saints, but Church of Christ, the old style that believes in communion every Sunday, and that no instrumental music in the church and stuff like that. It's kind of like Baptist, but doesn't have instrumental music. And the entire family is ministers. My grandfather, my mother's father, his brother's son went over to Africa and started the biggest African missionary, Church of Christ, founded thousands of churches over there, and a huge Christian college to develop everything that Africa would need in technology. And it's been that kind of, ministers that have done that kind of work.
Yes.
Now, I never got into the ministry, so
No,
I wasn't.
He got into
No, yeah, and I think it was because of who my father was, and but because of that, my grandfather, and because my mother had an illicit affair with a man, let alone not only any man, but the man.
Presley, the man of the world.
Exactly.
At that time.
And back in the 1950s, if you guys read your history, you'll know that down there through the Bible Belt, they were burning my father's records. Oh, they were calling him.
Well, yes, I did read stories about that, and
Yes.
he couldn't go certain
He couldn't
places,
go certain
and he couldn't
places.
sing in places. Yeah, it was really.
And they hated him down there, and of course that all changed after he went into the military.
Obviously, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, he was basically labeled Satan's son, and we don't want him whipping our women up into a lather, and all this kind of stuff.
No pun intended.
Exactly. And today we look at that and go, wow, that wasn't anything compared to what sometimes that you see today. And so I was the hated child on that side. I got whipped for years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. My grandparents would whip me for years, and
Well, not literally whip you, but
no, literally whip me. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I was always the child that you spill milk. Oh, that's going to be a whipping.
Oh, really?
Yeah, oh yeah. And my mother
So you had a very, very tough childhood.
Very tough childhood.
Because you
up.
didn't really have your father around. He never came around.
Well, he came around, but it was very brief.
Yeah.
And it was secretive.
Yes.
And it wasn't there long enough to establish, the male parental's presence in the house.
In the house. In other words, guiding you as
Exactly.
a father and as a man, guiding you through life.
Exactly.
You never really had that.
And I was 8 years old. My mother left Michigan to find us a new place. She knew she had to get out of Michigan, had to go find a place, and she went to work out in California, met a man out there who became my stepfather. And,
Was he cool? Was he cool?
Not cool. He owned a restaurant and a coffee shop, and he was a guy that went to work 365 days a year and provided for his family, and it was rough with me, with him.
This is part of your childhood and growing up.
And growing up, and even with
you
him.
had like a normal childhood.
I didn't have a normal childhood.
You didn't?
The only normal childhood that I had was after my stepfather stepped in, because then the stability of moving all the time stopped. Yeah. And we knew that we had planted roots and we were there. Now, the problem with my stepfather was he knew where I came from. So he thought that he had to control Michael with an iron fist.
Oh, Michael, these are the trials and tribulations of having a father like you have.
He's not going to get out. He's not going to do this. And, of course, he told my mother that. And I got spanked one time by him. The rest of the time I was dish duty, and I got all the chores in the house while my brother was able to go and play games and do anything he wanted to do.
But you had to work.
I had to work. And so then my mother found out that he had spanked me. And my mother told him very quietly. I never learned this until I became an adult. I would probably had a different attitude if I had known. But see, I was I guess you could say I was even disrespectful to him, because I would mock him in what he would say. Because to me, the man was just one step out of leaving. They all left.
Yeah, but also it wasn't your father.
No.
So, and it's funny how the younger generation and the kids, you're not, I know all about this because I had 6 stepchildren. And you're never the mother. So I always used to be Ninon.
Yes.
I would make sure they knew that, because I was not their mother and I could not tell them anything to do, because I would get slaughtered. Yeah. But now I want to go back into Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley, when he was born, he had a twin, Jesse.
Yes.
You're telling me a few stories about Jesse, and that he didn't really, they say he died at birth.
Yes.
And you say
I say that he didn't, and it's in the book. And the reason that he didn't is there are things that happen that have to be done in a proper manner and way.
Okay.
If those things are not there, then they
Then they didn't
non-existent, then it didn't happen. So let's take it back, 1935.
Yes.
Late at night, Gladys, my grandmother, is giving birth to what she knows as twins. She's had no prenatal care. She has had no doctor. They are poorest poor white. My grandfather Vernon working odd jobs. A lot of people don't know he worked on a paddle boat on the Mississippi River, and had to leave Grandma there at the house to keep her home for 2 or 3 days and go out on the paddle boat. And it was the USS Sprague. Okay, I say USS S because I'm a naval person, but it was the Sprague is what it was called.
Sprague.
And it was a paddle boat. And I've had an opportunity to talk to those people who were on the Sprague and knew my grandfather worked for them.
So you've done a lot of research.
I've done a lot of research beyond
before you actually
exactly
came out to say anything
beyond. And
yes.
so we're looking at Grandma now, and Jesse is and my father are getting ready to be born. Jesse is born premature of my father. Okay, the doctor's not there. There's a midwife there. The baby is born. What she determines is stillbirth.
Okay.
Placed in what everybody says was a cardboard box and laid on a table in a common area there of their little shotgun shack house.
Yes.
The doctor's on his way, and 35 minutes later, the doctor arrives in time to deliver my father, Elvis. During this time period, though, unbeknownst to everybody, spontaneous respiration happens with Jesse.
So Jesse is now not stillborn.
Not
he's
stillborn.
Now breathing.
He's now breathing.
So
people will then say, and I've already asked these questions because I said to myself, if I'm going to put this in the book, I have to look at it from the other side. Exactly. From the other side, if I'm reading this for the first time, I'm going to say, well, Michael Presley, where's your proof? Back in the 1920s, an act was done called the Stillborn Act. That act created a thing called a stillborn document. For every time a stillborn document from the mid-1920s that was born, a stillborn document had to be issued. You could not get a birth certificate without the stillborn certificate. You could not get a death certificate without the stillborn certificate. You could not bury the child without a stillborn certificate. The doctor that arrived.
Proof.
This is actual proof. Exactly.
But this is proof of him not being alive and being stillborn.
Stillborn and then being alive.
Yeah.
Because without the document, he must be alive. Because the doctor that delivered
that's what
my father,
you're going on.
That's correct.
Going on that
there's no documents.
There's no stillborn document, and by law there's supposed to be one.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, so I'm just repeating what you said.
So then you look at the doctor. The doctor is a government doctor.
Okay.
He has, by law and by his license, required to file a stillborn certificate.
So
he doesn't
legally
file.
he had to. So he didn't file because he was the baby, as you say, was born stillborn. But then after the doctor came, he started breathing. And
that's correct.
He was alive.
That's correct. The doctor steps in, tells the midwife, you need to take the baby. If the baby survives, we'll provide for it. Vernon and Gladys are too poor to carry for 2 children, let alone one of those children being actually impaired mentally or physically.
Yes, which it would be.
It would be without the oxygen.
If you're born without oxygen, your brain system, everything isn't working and then does work.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Now, people will also say, there's this fallacy out there that they said they were identical twins. It's not possible. And the reason it's not possible is because identical twins are born within seconds or minutes of each other because they share the same placenta.
Okay.
You see? Fraternal twins share are in separate placentas with separate blood supply.
I'm learning here.
So one child is born, and then the second child
is born.
35 minutes is too great of a time period for them to be identical. Also, in Vernon's own testimony, which is available out there on the internet, if you search hard enough, because there's been interviews with him.
I'm quite sure there's been a lot with this.
And he says that although they looked very similar, they were not identical.
No. I've often wondered what identical twins are, and now you've explained it to me, and now I understand.
Exactly.
It's exactly looking alike. It's being born at the same time.
Exactly.
Within seconds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now there's a story out there also on the internet too that there were 5 or 6 brothers all born at the same time. That's not possible either. She had trouble giving birth to the two. She was bleeding to death when the doctor arrived. Elvis and my grandmother were rushed to the hospital because they would have bled to death.
Yeah.
You know, in the process, and she had developed eclampsia.
Yeah.
And you're a woman, you know what eclampsia is, and all the aspects that go along with that. She had an abreached placenta with Jesse, and so when you have these kind of conditions, it's not possible that you have 4 or 5 brothers.
Yeah.
And now, for those of you who want to believe that there were 4 or 5 brothers and the ears were different and all this other kind of stuff, that's up to you. You're entitled to
believe
whatever you want to believe.
But they're all going to believe, Michael, whatever this story is,
Exactly.
whatever you're telling me. Some are going to believe and some are not going to believe,
That's
and
correct.
some are going to be indifferent. Exactly. So that's just life. That's just how we all are. Thank goodness. Imagine a bunch of me running around, a bunch of all yous and all me's.
Oh, exactly.
That'd be awful. Well, it might be good, actually.
Exactly.
Anyway, so now what happened to Jesse?
Jesse was then cared for by the midwife for a short period of time,
yes,
placed into an adopted family. The adopted family took care of Jesse. Now people will then say, well, how do you know that those facts are true? Well, where's the grave? Well, then they say, well, he's in an unmarked grave down in Tupelo, Mississippi, in the cemetery there. I've gone and talked to the senior most cemetery person there.
He's not there.
He's not there. And there's ground penetrating radar that has been done on his supposed gravesite. There's no grave there. He was supposedly buried next to an uncle of Elvis's, okay, and placed in the grave. There's no grave there. There's no child there.
In those days, they didn't have DNA, so they didn't have any of this. So how were they able or capable of knowing the blood and the whole thing? I mean, how?
Well, what ended up happening was, we know that the grave was not there. You know that through all the pictures, there are very few pictures after my father and his brother were born. Okay.
Were there any pictures of the two of them?
No, but there are very few pictures of Gladys smiling. She always looks very grim. Well, if you are a mother and you have another child that you know you've given birth to and you don't know where that child is,
yeah, that would be very...
you're going to be very sad, too, and grieving.
Well, regardless of what people want to say or how they want to say it. Money, no money, people, it doesn't matter, names, anything. As a mother, I would imagine you would grieve a lot because that's something that's attached to you.
That's correct.
That, you know...
And the individual there that has been the caretaker for that cemetery informed me, because I asked him point blank, I said, did the Presleys ever visit this grave? And he said, never. Now, you and I both know that a mother grieving over the gravesite of a child that he's given, Christmas, the birthday, 4th of July, picnics, something, okay, down there, a little gift he's left behind. I mean, it's just what you do for the babies.
Even though she was very young, which people are going to say, well, she's very young and she didn't really think, or she didn't, I'm not going to say I disagree with that, but I would have to think that she wasn't quite like that.
Some people have made the comment too, because I've said, why was there no grave marker there? Yeah. And they said, well, because they were very poor. That's fine until my father became very rich. Yeah. He placed a beautiful marker on my grandmother's grave, his mother. Why wouldn't he be placed
So what happened to him? When did he pass away, and is he...
Well, that portion in the book you're going to have to read. I'm not going to give the whole book
Not
out.
giving the whole thing out. That's because you've got to go. What's the name of the book?
In My Father's Footsteps.
In My Father's Footsteps. So you've got to go. It's on Amazon now?
No, it's not. It's at the publishers. They are editing the book because, like I said, they're not going to publish a 5,000-page book. So there's going to be multiple versions. You're going to have the unabridged version that you can buy, which will be quite expensive. And then you'll have the bookshelf version that you can buy. And that bookshelf version will be available at all of your outlets.
Okay, so the book should be out shortly.
Shortly.
And so then you can all investigate, you can all go to all these different
Read it,
places.
look at all the pictures and everything like that.
Now, regarding photographs, coming back to the photographs because I haven't seen any photographs of you and your dad. And you started, how old were you when you started involving yourself with your father, with Elvis?
Well, I was still a toddler when my father came by with Colonel Tom Parker to see us. Then the next time that my father came by was in the 1960s.
Okay.
That was followed by another visit or two by people that he sent to be assistants to me. Okay. I wanted to learn karate, and he sent his security individual who had developed Ed Parker.
Okay, yeah.
Had developed a whole series of dojos. One of those dojos was in Pasadena, California.
Okay.
And when my mother was unable to take me and drive all the way, to Pasadena, Ed Parker would come to Southern California.
So you knew Ed Parker?
Oh, yes, Torrance, California. And I've been...
Hey, listen, how was he as a guy?
Fantastic.
I mean, we've got
very
ups and
nice.
downs on this guy. That
very
he
nice.
kind of did a lot of the...
And an
incredible...
I mean, he developed Kempo.
Yeah, okay.
Kempo karate.
Yeah.
So, and I learned from him as I was going up through high school.
So you're in like 15, 16. So now you're starting to get involved with your father.
Yes, and I start singing in high school.
Okay.
And I was different. I'll tell you frankly, there's some pictures in there. I was the guy that while everybody else was wearing certain kinds of clothes, I was the one that wore a vest and a bow tie at school. You know, and that was me. And I had a pet opossum in school.
Wait a second. In those days, that was very appropriate to wear a suit and to dress up and to, be out there. So
yeah, but most of the children then were very, jeans and things along those kinds.
School.
Yeah, and at school.
Yeah.
And I didn't. My mom always expected me to look right, and she had trained me that way since I was a small boy, to always try to go out and get.
What did you pick up and what did you start doing when you started being more close with your father? I mean, did you go to his recordings? Did you go to his performances?
I went to his performances. There is an individual that is come forth and become part of our management team, and we met him. And I'll tell you, coincidences. There are no coincidences in the world. Okay, we were meant to meet.
Yes,
I met him. Met you through him. We met him through another person, and unbeknownst to all of you, you'll find this in the book.
Yeah.
But I was a decoy for my father from 1974 to 77.
Okay, I think I heard that story before because you would go out of a door and they thought it was Elvis and it actually was you.
Exactly.
And then Elvis was able to get in his own limousine so that he wasn't mobbed by...
That's correct.
All these women.
And the interesting part about it is John was there. He witnessed it. He was working with my father during part of the time, and he was able to see it happen, knew it happened, and then when we crossed again, he realized exactly, the connection that we have, and he just point blank told me, he says, "My God," he says, "I can't believe this." Yeah. We finally reconnected, and it's interesting because that's what we were doing, and so people out there don't know it. But then when you go to look at the pictures, and you can find those pictures on the internet.
Pictures of you and him?
Well, no, but you have to ask the question. People never ask the right question. I always tell people...
Well, maybe I'm not asking the right question.
Well, I always tell people, if you ask the right questions, you get the right answers.
Right answers.
If you ask the wrong question, you get a wrong answer.
Yes.
And I've said that in the book quite a few times. Why was my father being circulated around, picked up at auditoriums, rushed away, and brought back in plain sedans?
Well, I would imagine not to be noticed.
Exactly, because he was coming in from an opposite end.
Yes.
And here are the pictures.
He would get mobbed.
That's right. And here are the pictures on the internet of these sedate sedans packed full of guys. And I've got the pictures in the book, packed full of guys. And then you turn around and I'm arriving in the limo. Down in the normal downtown.
So you're arriving in the limo
at the auditoriums.
As of Elvis Presley.
Exactly.
So everybody,
exactly.
Because you kind of dress kind of the same sort of way. You are different, but the same sort of way. So
you know what? Let's address that too, because
let's address that as well.
Yeah, because I saw that in some of the comments. Okay.
All right, comments are now coming out.
Listen, folks. It's my real hair. It's my real looks.
Well, it looks like it.
You know, and I favor my father, and I want to thank all of the wonderful people who stopped me. We literally have thousands of interviews with people that are going to be being released here shortly on YouTube.
Good.
Of thousands of people who have stopped me in stores, in gas station stops, places that we go. We get mobbed.
Yes.
We literally get mobbed.
Get mobbed.
And it's
like
wonderful.
That?
I love it because I want to meet the people.
That.
You know, this is all one-dimensional.
Yes.
Okay. But when you can go out there and you can reach out and shake someone's hand
and
hello,
exactly.
Give them a kiss and talk to them one-on-one.
Yeah.
It is multidimensional, and you get a completely different.
But do you like dressing like this? Do you? Because you said you like sort of,
I've always dressed like this.
You're kind of following in your father's footsteps because you're a singer. Do you count yourself as you obviously are, but that much different to Elvis Presley and his voice and your voice?
People said, well, can he sound like Elvis? Yes, I sound identical to my father. It's in an album that we just released. Okay. And so close that the FBI was unable to determine whether there was two voices on there for the most of the songs. And then they suddenly realized when they were able to get the difference between the two voices, they said, oh, okay, now we see it. See? And it's that close. It's that close with the material on stage.
I think the reason why all this is kind of coming around is because you never came out until recently.
And people say too, where's the mannerisms? Well, folks, I'm not an ETA. Okay? I'm not going to sit there and go like this and and strike the poses and do all these kind of things. That was my father. He did that on stage. And by the way, he never did it off stage.
Yeah, but you would be different because you're not him. So obviously you're going to do it maybe similar, could be similar, have a similar voice, but you can't be exactly. But I've just noticed that you sort of portray to be very much like your father, and you enjoy it, and you like it.
And it's natural.
And I think right now, Michael Presley, I think that you are feeling more comfortable now
than ever before in my life.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, even before the last interview we had.
Absolutely.
I think you feel a little bit more stable, a little bit more grounded. I'm only thinking, it's just hearsay from me, that you probably found out more information to actually verify who you are. You're not afraid of whatever you say or do anymore. Are you that secure?
I'm that secure.
You are?
I am that secure.
You presented me with a birth certificate, which I have here. You've already seen it. I don't want to bring it up again. It's got Elvis Presley's name on there. It's got everything on there. I know that a lot of people can say, oh, well, he had it duplicated, or he had this, or he had that. This one, I don't think so. I think it's...
and you know what? They're entitled to their opinion.
And it doesn't bother you anymore.
It does not bother me at all. Not at all. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. In fact, if a person was standing right here and looked at me and said, I don't believe a word you say, okay.
Well, that's fine.
You're entitled.
I'm quite sure
Thank you very much.
Quite sure they don't believe anything I say either.
I'd look at them and I would say, God blesses you, and so do I.
I'm just finding out who you are and what you are and everything else. And also realizing that, how old are you now?
Do I have to say that?
No, you don't have to say that. No. Anyway.
I did say when I was born.
Yeah, what was that, 56?
56.
56,
So you all do the math.
I got to do the math. So now at your age, you're sort of doing all this. What are you planning on now? Because you're so secure, you're feeling very comfortable. You've lost a tremendous amount of weight.
Oh, yes, yes.
He's getting himself ready for the da-da-da-da-da. Oh, we're going to sing a little bit.
I might warble a song right before we close out.
All right.
You know, I gotta apologize. I'm sounding a little nasal tonight. I've got to also put out the props out to the Flamingo Hotel too. Let me tell you guys what happened last night.
What happened? Oh, something happened last night.
First of all, we got in, and we're going down to Fremont Street. Now, I don't know. I've told everybody on the radio station, I love to dance. I dance all the time. I listen to music all the time. I'm hearing music. I wake up in the morning with songs running through my head. I go to sleep with songs running through my head.
So you're a writer as well?
Well, no. Not writing music. Just music that's
already out there.
You know, and I'll wake up and I'll go, I don't know why I'm thinking that song, but the song's been playing in my head all night long. And so we're standing in the elevator, and I begin dancing to the music.
This is at the Flamingo Hotel.
Right. And we begin dancing to the music that's on Bandstand Radio.
Okay.
Oh. Now, that's all the hits. I mean, we do it all, you know. And so we're playing it away, and I start dancing, and the elevator starts rocking, and all of a sudden you go, and it stops, and I'm looking at it. It says 5 on the indicator, but it's not moving. Well, we start pushing the buttons again. Nothing's happening.
So you are now, is it you and who else?
There was 4 of us in there.
4 of you in there, and you're dancing around.
I'm dancing around.
The elevator thought it was an earthquake.
Exactly. That's what they told us.
Well,
they said it locked it around. It locked it up. We were stuck for hours between the 4th and the 5th floor.
For hours?
For hours, and we didn't even really know that we were stuck between the floors until one of my representatives pried open the inner door of the elevator because we were suffocating in there. And here's these 2 doors, you know, and one says 5 and one or 4, and one says 5 and 4. Yeah, and somebody said, "Well, let's just push this black button." I said, "Don't do that. Don't do that. It will bring out the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Army, the Air Force, the National Guard, the police department, the federal agents, the state people, the fire department." Exactly, out to there.
You can say what your title was. I can't say it because I don't know if you want it out there.
No.
I figured that, so I'm being a very good host. I'm not saying it. I won't. No, because
we do have
you have security.
And we do have federal connections.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I tell them, no, get on the telephone and call the front desk. We called the front desk. We told them. They said the Presley party is stuck in the elevator between the 4th and 5th floor. And right away,
what happened to you?
That right away started something. Okay, and John, who has been with the biggest rock stars out there, we call him and tell him, and he goes, "Oh no, it's starting. This is it." Kathy, his wife, goes, "I thought we were done with all that," and he goes, "No, it's just getting started. Now we've got Michael Presley going at it." Now. So the security shows up and says, "Are you guys okay?" "Yeah, we're okay." "Well, we've got the elevator people coming." Now, they don't have maintenance people that can handle the elevators in these hotels. They've got a centralized location somewhere within 30 minutes of the hotels. So you have to
now wait for them to come over.
Exactly. So we're sitting there and we're waiting 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 and waiting. So we decide, you know what? Let's take a picture. So we took a picture, and I'm standing there pointing at the 2 floors in the deal. We're going to post this, by the way, so you guys will be seeing it out there shortly.
Oh, this is real life, because John called me last night.
Yes.
And he says, "Michael's stuck in the elevator." And I said, "Well, could be stuck somewhere." You're stuck in the elevator. Not only any hotel, the Flamingo. So
exactly.
Flamingo's getting a lot of advertising through all this.
One of our individuals actually started hyperventilating and overheating. And so when we opened up the doors, we sat him over here by the airflow, you know, because, and all I could think about was, this is going to be on national news tonight. Elvis found at the Flamingo Hotel, caught in an elevator.
Between 5 and 4.
Exactly. John then tells me he's contacted Channel 3. And they're trying to get a film crew out there.
Oh, that's funny. Because this is now when? Monday night? Sunday night?
Yeah, Monday night.
Monday night, last night.
And of course I'm still standing in there, and I'm waving at the camera, and you know,
of course.
Listen, folks, I have parties, okay? When wherever I go, we're having a party today.
Well, we are. Yeah, right now we're having a party.
I love to have parties. I'm a party type guy.
You're a party type guy.
So we wait. Finally, they get us out of the elevator. Everybody. Oh, you got to come to the parties. So we get out of the elevator and we go to the restroom because everybody's got to go to the bathroom now. Okay,
I
we
think
get to that bathroom. We now have an entire hotel of security that is now blocking the bathrooms. They're letting people up, but they're blocking the bathrooms. They get us and they said, "Were you the party that was caught in the elevator?" Yes.
Yeah,
Well, come with us to the front desk. We're going to have this the property manager on property come on board. He's on his way now, and we have to have we have to talk to you. So I'm thinking to myself, well, I was dancing in the elevator, and I keep asking the guy, I says, "Is there a problem?" Because I was going to pick up the phone and tell them there was a problem. And I think I actually told one of them, I told Michael Sullivan, I said, "Listen, if you don't hear from me, I will be at the Central Precinct, downtown Las Vegas Police Department."
Being questioned 100%.
Okay.
What on earth is
so
he doing?
we get to the
right.
desk, and the manager shows up, and they take all of our IDs. So that's why I know they ran the IDs, and mine flags with a special little title. Okay.
Elvis Presley?
No. It doesn't flag with Elvis Presley, but
teasing.
it flags with a little special something. And the manager comes out very apologetic. He says, "Listen, folks, if it wasn't you guys, we would be charging you $1,000 for disruption of the elevator service, and you would be going down to explain it to the precinct, and these security guards and the police department."
Hang on a second. You didn't know you were disrupting it?
I didn't know I was disrupting it. And all I could think about was, yeah, let's rock out. I'm ready for this, okay?
Well, you won't do that again.
No, I won't be rocking out in the elevator.
No,
I'll only do it outside.
So that was your story of Vegas. That's a good story for Vegas.
So the manager looks
when
at us.
When are you leaving?
The manager looks at us and he says, "Mr. Presley, I want to thank you very much on behalf of the Sahara Hotel, or from the Flamingo Hotel, for staying here. I want to apologize for the failure of our elevators to deliver you to the first floor, and we are very sorry about this." They were very apologetic. I mean, they were absolutely wonderful. So my props to the Flamingo Hotel, and for any of you out there who want to stay there, I would suggest you do so because they're wonderful people.
But funny thing is publicity is the greatest thing in the world, especially for entertainers like us. I mean, I do my hosting, you do your singing. So when things like this happen, it's really quite good publicity because it gets your name out.
Exactly.
Even if it was in an elevator, it doesn't matter where it comes from, because anything out there, whether it's good, bad, right, or wrong, it's always good. Because you're noticed out there and everything else.
Exactly.
So now, because we're going to be closing the show, and it's been an incredible interview.
I've got to tell you
He's got to tell me another story.
Yes.
So here, I knew there was another one coming.
We left and went down to Fremont Street.
Oh no, what happened?
Now, well, the last time we went to Fremont Street, we had extra security, and that was good because we do draw a crowd, This was a mistake. We went down there and we had broadcast material because I wanted to do a live, direct from Fremont Street, Las Vegas.
Well, that's for your show,
for the show, exactly. And we get down there, and apparently the Garage Boys, who are up on stage, recognized us immediately and went right into an Elvis song and started playing it. And it was great, and
cool.
the people just absolutely were on us, and it just and you're shaking hands and pictures and signing autographs and boobs
of course.
Everything, because of course you present it to me and you tell me where you want the autograph. I'm liable to put it just exactly where you want it. So that's what we were doing.
We won't go there.
It's a family show.
But that sounds fabulous. So are you going to put that?
Yes, that will be on the radio station on our Wednesday night shows.
On your Wednesday night show.
That's great.
Now, your Wednesday night show, what is the name of it?
It's called the Michael Presley Show on Bandstand Radio.
Michael Presley Show on Bandstand Radio.
That's correct.
And this is every week?
Every week, and it's worldwide.
And this could be seen anytime because it's recorded onto the internet.
It is. We will have archived it as we do it.
People don't understand the internet because of my show. They turn around and say, "Well, where are you?" I said, I just told them I'm on the internet. Well, where? I presume it's in the entertainment department, but that's actually on YouTube. But it's all over the world.
Exactly.
So it goes worldwide.
Exactly.
And so you must love this. So now when you go back home to do your show, when are you leaving? Tomorrow?
We're actually leaving late tonight.
Oh, late tonight.
Yeah, we've been here all week for the NAB show, the
Yeah,
National
yeah.
Association of Broadcasters.
Yes, because you wanted to come in because
Exactly.
you're putting a lot together.
Exactly.
Oh, one quick question: are you getting a lot of interest in who you are and what you are, and people are now beginning to understand and believe your story?
Absolutely. In fact, you know what? We did a
something
thing.
else here.
Yes, we did a thing at the Veterans.
Oh,
And a
great. I
young
love
lady
that.
who had written a poem, okay, that has been greatly circulated.
Okay.
Had met us there. She had a great story to tell about her and my father and their meeting and how she
Oh,
didn't
how
want to let go of his
fabulous.
hand and everything.
Oh my
and
goodness.
and so she had this poem, and she said, I would really like, if there was anybody in the world that I could give this poem to go ahead and get it to music, it's you. And I mean, and it's things like this that just, it fills my heart with even more love. So we've got this right here.
This is
This
it.
is the poem.
Okay, and it is titled, obviously, I Saw
His
His
face.
Face.
And it's a beautiful poem.
I would read it out, but it's a bit long.
Yes.
Peace Prayer Poem can be heard on the YouTube Kathy Navin channel.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have that, and of course we've got the broadcast. We've got the book, and we've got the record that is out now and available, and they can go to.
What's the name of the record?
The record is Reflections album.
Reflections album.
Yes, and we've got a single out called I Stand Alone, and the flip side of that is She Loved the Hate Out of Me.
Well, that's interesting. She
Yeah.
loved the hate.
A couple of good country songs.
Yeah.
And so
okay.
those are available also on Shadow Mountain Productions and Shadow Mountain Records, and you can get that, and that's Shadow Mountain Productions LLC.com.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, have you ever been so busy in your life as you are now?
No. In fact, there's all of this kind of stuff, and then there's letters of endorsement.
Stuff here.
Yeah,
there's
there's
so much proof going on here.
it's
can you imagine going
letters
out
of
there?
endorsement coming in.
Yeah, but can you imagine,
for this here.
Can you imagine going out there? If I had to go out there to prove who I was, I don't know if I would like to have done what you've had to do to prove who you are and where you've been and who your father is. I think it's something very difficult to do because it's been such a lapse of time, and also your father obviously is no longer here, but I'm sure we've got blessings. I want to ask you one more question and then we'll close out. Priscilla Presley, how's that going?
My stepmom.
I know wasn't that.
It's interesting because there is two individuals that now, I did tell you on the last time, I think,
Yes.
that they had offered me $2 million not to do the book.
I don't know. I can't remember that. I can remember not to do the book. I can't remember the money side
Yes,
of it.
yes.
But okay.
Go away, disappear, don't release the book. Well, it's not about money that I'm releasing the book. It's about knowledge.
Well, no. I think it's more about your life.
Exactly.
I think and anyone's entitled to write about their own life, aren't they?
Exactly. And so,
Okay.
so that was done. They know the narrative that is coming out in the book, and David Stanley. Now,
Okay.
I'm going to mention names because they're mentioned in the book, and I don't
Mention
mind
what
mentioning
name you
names.
like. You're mentioning
David
them.
Stanley, who
Yes.
I think he's finding himself now. This is the stepbrother
Finding.
to my father, okay? And he was Vernon's, my grandfather's second wife's son, okay?
Okay.
By another man. So at any rate, he said that my father had killed himself, he died of a drug overdose, and all this kind of stuff, and wrote about this in his books. Well, he has since come down in December of last year and apologized to the fan base, said, I'm sorry for saying those things. It's not true. I'm sorry for lying to you about what happened. I'm going to tell you all the truth now. Please come see me. I've got a new book going out and everything like that. So David Stanley, I think, is really finding himself.
He's finding himself, and he's kind of
he's
admitting
changing,
to
yes.
things because
And-
he's realizing they're probably real. Steve, how much time do we have? What time is going on? Because I want to ask him another question. Okay.
And David, I want David to know I love you, brother.
Yeah.
I love you. And Priscilla too has changed the scenario.
She's changing a little
She's-
bit,
yes.
understanding the situation. And,
Well, and realizing now that the narrative of my father being found rigor mortis is not going to wash when the book comes out.
because apparently, and this is the question I wanted to ask, you have a different story about how your father passed away.
That's correct.
I don't think we mentioned that in our
last time, no.
Can you sort of, I don't want to say abbreviate it small because that would not be fair to Elvis Presley, that we all love. You still do. Your opinion?
The narrative, the Hollywood narrative out there is that he died with his pants around his ankles in a fetal position on the floor of a drug overdose. Didn't happen that way.
Yeah, that's, they've even got photographs, but the photograph they had was from the waist down and not,
That's correct.
so we didn't really know, it could be anybody.
That's correct. And so that's the narrative. The problem with this is you've got to ask the right questions again.
Am I?
Will ambulances, when they arrive, transport a body in rigor mortis to a hospital to be resuscitated? The answer is no.
Yeah.
The ambulance drivers will look at them and say, the guy's dead. It's rigor mortis is set in. We can't resuscitate a dead body. Call the police department.
Yeah, because they're at the house for quite a long
Exactly.
time, you know, getting, obviously, not the evidence, but getting on what's going on exactly there. I'm sure there were people there getting all the evidence and everything else.
And the police department would be called, and then the coroner would be called to go ahead and determine the time of death. And that's the way these things are handled. It wasn't handled that way. Dr. Nick rushes to the house. They administer oxygen. They are doing resuscitation. You can't do resuscitation on a rigor mortis body. The body's not going to breathe oxygen by putting an oxygen mask on them. Rushing them to a hospital to be saved is of no avail. There are eyewitnesses that saw my father arrive saying that he was flat on his back. Well, if he was in rigor mortis in a fetal position, how can he be flat on his back on the gurney? There is an individual who happened to be the maintenance man there at the hospital at the time, who owns the paddles and the machinery, the defibrillator, used in that trauma room on my father. No doctor in their right mind, and I've talked to the doctor who worked in the ER that night and was one of the attendant physicians. You're not going to try and use a defibrillator paddles on a rigor mortis body, nor are you going to perform a thoracic surgery in the side of the chest wall to get into the heart to determine whether there is a cardiac tamponade that needs to be released. And for those of you who don't know what a cardiac tamponade is, it's a pressure of fluid that is built up around the heart, preventing the heart from being able to beat properly, and they have to catheterize it and pull that fluid off.
Yes.
That's done through a thoracic incision that's done in the side. Furthermore, no surgeon is going to spend the time to suture up a thoracic opening if it's only going to the morgue. You're only going to do that if the person is been stabilized, being transferred up to a critical care unit, and they're hoping to resuscitate him.
So what you are saying to me, that he didn't actually completely die that day. He lived another, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week, a month?
Till October.
Till October?
Till October.
That's quite a long time.
That's right.
And you have, because you weren't there, so you have all proof and evidence.
We got copies of the autopsy
You've got
report.
copies of the autopsy. They've got copies of everything. And it seems to be Michael.
And Lisa Marie talks in her interviews about talking to our father 3 and 4 days after he was supposedly buried. How can you be sitting there at the hospital talking to my father upstairs?
Yeah, because they were so that close.
Exactly. There are jokes made by the first double cousin that Elvis isn't dead. He's upstairs. Well, of course he was upstairs, Baptist Memorial Hospital. Then you've got Colonel Tom Parker in his testimony indicating that he went and visited my father after the heart attack. Who visits a corpse?
So this is all sort of, this is a lot of stuff we don't know, a lot of stuff. You have sort of got all this knowledge. You've gone out there to find out everything exactly. Seems like
I wanted to know.
Michael finds things out before he puts them out there 100%.
I wanted to know. Okay, this is my father.
Now, why
I
did
wanted
you
to
not?
know the truth.
You knew he was in the hospital. Why did you not visit him?
no way to get close. Okay, and I had my family too. We are talking to family members. First cousin, also Aunt Lorraine, who has been a very good friend of my mother's. Okay, she was really the connective person between the Presley family and me through my mother. Aunt Lorraine stayed in heavy contact, with my mother. Also, there was Aunt Iris out there, and for instance, I went to Patsy Presley's wedding with Aunt Iris. Okay, this is several years after my father had passed away.
Several years.
Okay,
Yeah. So you were still connected with
yes,
the family.
exactly.
Well,
exactly.
naturally you would naturally be connected since you're the son. But did they all acknowledge you as being the son?
Some of them did,
And some of them did.
and a lot of them didn't. And I'm not going to hold the family. Listen, I'm too old to have hard feelings for
I don't
anybody.
think he's too old at all for anything. So now we're getting back to Priscilla Presley. So you now feel that things are getting a little closer, a little nicer with her. And
I'm hoping so.
And you're hoping so to
to
have that love. I'd love to interview her as well. With you. I'd love to interview.
It'd be a blast.
Yeah, that would be incredible because the family have had, a couple of disappointments. Lisa, I can say Lisa especially only because she was so young, but then Elvis Presley was young as well. So,
and I want to reach out there through your video.
Yes.
To the millions of people that are out there. If you have a connection to my father, I want to know about it. I would love to be the catalyst that pulls this family together. There are other children out there that I'm becoming aware of.
Well,
okay,
hang on a second.
That the possibility that they're there, that we would like to get in touch with.
Show 3 is coming up in a couple of months. We could sit here for hours, and I know my producer says, Ninon, you gotta, come on.
So we're if you're out there, please contact us. Exactly. Or contact Ninon.
Yeah, you can contact me, and then I'll get hold of Michael, because a lot of these stories are very new to me, but I love interviewing and getting a story out. And whatever people think of it, you're all entitled to your own opinion, and that is fine. That's why we're individuals, and we are who we are.
That's correct.
I can turn around and say I'm definitely my father's daughter because I've got his eyes, I've got his lips, and I've got part of his brain. So that's good.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. So what would you like to say to your audience out there? We're ending the interview. What would you like to say?
Come and see me. Meet me. Let's talk. I would love to see that. We are going to make us as accessible as possible once the tours start. We are making ourselves as accessible now through YouTube, through the radio station, through the book, through the records, every possible opportunity that I can. If you see me somewhere, don't hesitate to stop by and say hello. I want to hear your stories. I want to know your life, as well as in my life. I mean, because really, in reality, aren't we all family?
Well, we're all brothers and sisters.
Exactly.
And we're all people. It's so funny because in the entire world, we are all exactly the same. We've got the men and we've got the women.
Thank God for the women.
Yeah, well then, if we didn't have the women, we wouldn't have the men. So we are quite a little bit important. But the only difference is maybe the color of our skin, the language we speak. But basically, the whole world is the same. So
it is the same.
And I think sort of your story is a wonderful story. Whoever wants to believe it or not believe it or check it out, go ahead. Especially now, the internet. It's amazing.
It is
So
amazing.
you cannot really sort of lie. It's like people want to find out about me. I say, go to Google, go to Ninon de Vere Rosa, and you'll find all out about you. Rather than me say, you find out where we've been. They can do the same with you.
Absolutely.
You can go to Michael Presley. What's your middle initial? Any?
B.
Michael B. Presley. Look it up. Find out anything you want to find out.
And don't hesitate to write to Shadow Mountain Productions LLC.com or to Nina, or get us on the radio on Wednesday night. I'll be more than glad to answer your questions.
Yeah, there's lots of places you can go. You can always contact me. Vegas Live with Ninon.
There's no way in the world that you can do everything in a 30-minute video
I don't think
here in
so.
Vegas
No.
and talk about every little item. There's no way that you could ever cover every little thing in a book.
Oh, no, not at all.
And so if you got a question, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I love all the compliments.
Yeah, they're
Oh, I love
amazing, amazing. All the people that wrote in little things are absolutely amazing. I want to thank all of you out there. From the last interview we did, and now we've got this one, so we're going to go through another big huddle of comments, which will be fun. I read every one of them, by the way. And I also want to thank the Peppermill in Las Vegas. This is an icon in Vegas, been here for years, and it's absolutely amazing. They have always invited me to do my shows here, my talk shows. Actually, I was here every Wednesday for, I think it was 6 or 7 years until COVID came around. So now I'm doing different shows, and especially Michael. And John Grip, who has actually, John Grip was actually my original producer. And now I have Steve Sebo as my producer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, John Grip. Oh, little story about John. After a little story, then we'll close out. John Grip and myself actually started Vegas Live with Ninon. We came here in this booth because he knew Peggy. Peggy is the manager here at the Peppermill, and that's when we started our show. So John Grip has always been involved, and then he left, and then everything else happened. And here we are right back again with Steve Sebo, who is my producer, and John Grip is also now my producer. And then Michael is now my friend.
Absolutely.
And we don't
Close friend.
Close friend. And we really don't know where we're going from here, but what I do know is it's been fascinating to listen to so many things. Thank you again for everybody out there for watching, and your comments are amazing. We shall be back.